Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook. This podcast is inspired by a Quincy Jones quote: "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they're good at." So over here on Harmonious World, I chat with musicians, get them to share what they are good at. Alongside Harmonious World, you can read album and live reviews on my website, hilaryseabrook.co.uk. For this episode, I am absolutely delighted to be joined for a third time by soprano sax player Jane Ira Bloom. Jane has just been voted Soprano Sax Player of the Year by the Downbeat magazine Critics Poll, and I can absolutely see why. So I interviewed her in 2021, first on her own and then secondly with Alison Miller. Jane's latest album, Songs in Space, came out a few weeks ago, and what you're listening to now is Better Starlight from that album. But I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Jane Ira Bloom.
Hello, Hilary.
Hello, Jane. So, this is my third time of talking to you. I'm very excited.
It's been a while. Yeah, we've been doing projects together. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Songs in Space, so I'm very excited to be talking about that.
Happy to talk with you. Happy to talk.
Yeah. Let's start with, when did you write these pieces? Because they're mostly originals, but a couple of standards, if you like.
A lot of them got written during the pandemic.
Oh, right.
So they're fairly recent. I've been playing some of them with the trio for a few years. I mean, two or 3 years old. Yeah. So this, for me, fairly recent stuff.
And they're all about, so you've got a planet. Is it a planet or a star named after you? I can't remember.
It's an asteroid.
Oh, it's an asteroid. Okay. How did that happen?
You want to know the story?
I'd love to know the story.
Okay. It's just one of those serendipitous things. I don't know if you know this, but when astronomers discover an asteroid, they're allowed to name it, right? So there's an astronomer at an observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, named Brian Skiff. And these guys, of course, observe very late at night, and oftentimes they like to listen to music. It's like 3:00 in the morning or something. So anyway, Brian is a deep jazz fan. And at the time that he was observing, he was listening to an album of mine called Art and Aviation, which was almost like a tribute album after I had experienced working with NASA. Lots of space themes in there. So anyway, that was when he discovered this asteroid, and that's how it got to be named 6083 Jane Ira Bloom.
You have a real sort of interest in what lies beyond the horizon, really.
Good place to be looking these days, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You don't want to look too close to home, do you?
Look to the galaxy.
Yeah.
But yes, ever since, the very start of the space program, I was just always fascinated. I watched every launch, every landing, all the way from, the very first ones with Alan Shepard, all the way through Apollo and Gemini and then the shuttle period. I was just always fascinated.
Don't you feel like it's part of our generation? We're a very similar age. And I think that for those of us that grew up, were born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s, the idea of space and exploration and stuff was new and exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and there was so much coverage of it too, even for young people. I can remember programs about space exploration, and
Yeah,
when I
definitely.
was very young watching things, it was very much in the air.
Yeah, it was exciting, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was the unknown. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think it's that sense of the unknown and the exploring that inspires your music? Because it feels very, very much like you're not resting on your laurels, are you?
Well, starting from the fact that I've always been interested in zero gravity and what that might be like, and what music might be like in zero gravity. It just all comes of a piece, I think. It's just me, Hillary. It's just
Yeah. I love it when there's connections between sort of science and art, and I love how you sort of expect them to be separate, but they're really not.
no. If you live in the world of ideas, and I'm sure you've talked to many improvisers, you find at least the ones that I've met from all generations, they're they're artists who are just interested in the world of ideas, whatever that might be.
Yeah, yeah. And they say there's a saying, isn't there, about, intelligent people talk about ideas and whatever, stupid people talk about people or whatever it is. I don't know. I can't remember what it is. It's not actually that, but it's something like that. And it's about that stretching the opportunities and the possibilities and I love that about jazz particularly.
Well, for improvisers who are making things up in the moment,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're never the same twice. It's a kind of way of thinking that kind of suits us.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. At this point in the podcast, I would really like to play a little bit of my favorite track on this album, which is Riding My Planet.
Enjoy, please enjoy.
So, how did that get written? Did you have the concept before you wrote the music, or did the music come first?
I don't know how that title came to be. The music happens, and then something felt like it was right. The title was right.
Yeah,
I wish I could explain it to you how it all happens, but it's mysterious even to composers.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes composers say, well, well, at the time when I was writing this, something happened, and then that sort of inspired me or whatever. But yeah, and it kind of doesn't matter, does it? It's just so that people can say, well, that's the track that I liked or whatever.
I'm glad it speaks to you.
Yeah.
Unlike folk musicians, jazz improvisers tend not to talk so much about. I was looking at the sunset, and then it's a little more mysterious how the things evolve in your mind, and especially in a little more of an abstract way too.
Yes. Funnily enough, I was talking to a fellow sax player today about the joy of improvisation and where it comes from, and the fact that you don't know where it comes from, you don't know where it's going, you don't know quite what's next, and it's a lovely thing to be able to explore music like that.
It's so fascinating, Hillary, that in music it is a way of life. And yet I could say to you it's not exactly the way my life is, but it's the way my music is.
Yeah, yeah, that's brilliant. um right, so talk to me about the other people on this album. You've got Dominic Falacaro, Mark Helias, and Bobby Previtt.
Uh,
So are they your usual trio?
these are longtime collaborators. You might
I do. Yeah, I
recognize
recognise.
Dominic from the Ballads album, 16 Sunsets, and Mark and Bobby I've been playing with so long. It's just like the rhythm section from heaven.
And I guess they get where you want to go with music when you put it
Yeah,
in front of them.
and particularly this album, we talked a lot before we recorded this one because we were thinking very carefully about this interest in surround sound that we were recording and how we might play differently because of that.
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, how does that inspire you? Because obviously it's a different experience for the listener. So how is it a different experience for the musician?
Well, it's kind of simple. When we talked about it, it's just that you have to leave a little more space, a little more silence, and maybe not the most uh, uh, complicated, detailed musical thought that's too dense. And the reason is because when you're dealing with the spatial element of listening, you have to leave space for your mind to track where sound is. And it can't happen if you're not working with space. Space both in the silence
Yeah.
realm and space in terms of the spatial content of a soundscape.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really interesting. You recorded live with this trio, is that right?
Right. No more remote.
No, no, that's right. Well, we went through too much of that, didn't we? But there's something, isn't there, about jazz when it's four people in a room playing together.
It's, even though we are isolated in terms of recording isolation,
Yeah.
in the different booths and things, the physical presence of the musicians you're playing with, absolutely. Uh, you can't fake that.
No, there's something about it, isn't there, that I don't think, if you're not a musician, I don't think you kind of get that. I remember talking to people during lockdown and saying how different the experiences. So when you're playing and you're playing to an audience that is behind a screen, you're not getting the vibes back from them. And who knows how that happens? It's a physics thing, I guess. But it's the same when you're recording and when there's four of you, and like you say, you've got screens and booths and all sorts of things to sort the sound isolation out, but the energy in the room is still there, isn't it?
After the takes, when you go in the booth and you listen together. I mean, it's a communal musical experience, no matter what. And even if you can't see them, sometimes the angles in the studio are a little funny, and you got the
Yeah.
headphones on and stuff, but they're there.
Yeah. Now, I can't remember if I asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again because I can't remember what the answer was if I did, which is why the soprano saxophone? Why does that really resonate with you, probably physically as well as emotionally?
Well, I started off playing alto, and at the beginning of my career in the 70s, I remember when I first started recording, I recorded some alto tracks and some soprano tracks, and I listened back to them. And I says, the alto stuff, it's just not happening. I listened to the soprano. I said, and I don't know how you say it, but I said, that's my voice. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I just knew it. And it was like 1976. That was my first recording. I was listening back to the tracks. I said, no, no, um, this is my voice.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because I've dipped in and out of it, but I always come back to baritone, and that's just definitely me.
Oh, you know it for a fact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if the house was on fire, that's what I would take out first.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Interestingly, let's talk about saxophones for a moment. I don't know if you know a guy called Tim Garland from the UK. He's a sax player, mainly tenor and soprano, but he was playing a mezzo soprano when I saw him the other day. Have you ever played one of those?
Never have. No.
No. Well, apparently there are only 19 in the world.
Well, it's fascinating. It's got to be something different.
Yeah, and it's apparently it's in. I think it's in G. It's in a
Hmm.
really weird key, but
Hmm.
and it's between alto and soprano.
Right. It's right in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but I really liked what he did with it, but I like his playing anyway. So I guess that you know what I mean. He could have played
Sure.
anything, but
Well,
yeah,
the instrument would have a character all its own.
yeah,
It's not a soprano. It's not an alto. It's something of its own.
yeah, absolutely. So I wonder what's next for you. You've got this album out, which was your kind of moment in lockdown, if you like. But
Yeah.
what's next?
Well, it's interesting. I wrote, Hillary, so much music. I've written so much music that I have not heard.
Ah,
Uh, that one of the things that's coming up next fall is, I've had this relationship with recording engineer Ulrike Schwartz, uh, working in the surround sound medium.
yeah.
Well, we got a grant, and the grant is to go in a studio and experiment, have the time to really experiment with this new way of thinking about spatial sound recording. And I might have different configuration of musicians to experiment with. But I so look forward to that because often, when you go in a studio, it's expensive. You got to worry about the time. You haven't got time to try anything out. And this next project will be all about getting in a studio to experiment with spatial sound.
That sounds fascinating.
So that's next on the docket.
Excellent.
And
That's
and
brilliant.
I've got a lot of music to play. I haven't heard it yet. So we'll check it all out.
Oh, that's lovely. And actually, it'll be interesting because presumably some bits of it will work really well in that environment, and some of it you'll listen to and you'll go, "That's not happening."
Absolutely. And you have to be, okay with that. It's all right that, if something doesn't work, you have to evolve and move on and find out what does.
How brilliant. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Jane. It's so lovely.
Pleasure to talk with you, Hillary. And I just love your enthusiasm. And thanks so much for your support.
Thank you for joining me for Harmonious World and for that conversation with Jane Ira Bloom. What you're listening to now is Song from Stars, which is another of the tracks taken from Songs in Space. Please do share this episode if you enjoyed it and take a look at some of the other episodes I've got. There are lots and lots of really interesting musicians to hear from. But thank you for joining me once more for Harmonious World, and I wish you a very good week. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.